Okay, so One Piece live action season 2, episode 2. At this point, I have marathon the entire season, and I'm noticing a theme throughout the episodes. A lot of things are accurate. Some things I actually have to go back and check. And I like the attention to detail in a lot of these episodes. The only problem I have is that certain things are overdone in a way in which they don't necessarily appear in the canon. They aren't necessarily needed for the narrative, but I think they were changed to make things more exciting. There's one thing later on that's just flat out not good, and I'll talk about that when we get to it way later on because it is later on in the season. But in talking about episode 2, I do like how they enter the Grand Line through Reverse Mountain. I think that's very well done. The same energy is kept from the manga and anime. Very good, no complaints there. But that is when we get into our first big discrepancy, and I'm not sure why they changed this, maybe because it seems a little too fantastical, but the rest of the arc on the Twin Capes does not take place inside Laboon. It mostly takes place on the shore and inside Laboon, but Laboon's insides are just those of a normal whale. But in the manga and anime, there is an entire fortress basically built inside Laboon for his safety by Crocus. Crocus, in the way he is portrayed here and in the anime and manga, is basically 1-to-1. I like it a lot. We do kind of miss out on the serious comedy associated with him, but it's not that big of a departure. I wouldn't call it that big of a deal. The costuming's great. The costuming throughout the entire season is always great. What is interesting about Crocus now is that he delivers the sedatives to Laboon via a gun from a shack near the lighthouse. So that's different, but the spirit of which is the same. And that's basically how the whole season is for the most part. Things are different, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse, but the spirit is capped, so I can't necessarily be mad. The other Straw Hats, other than Luffy, spend most of the time in this episode inside of the whale, which is where they meet Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday. Now, a very funny thing about Mr. Nine that does happen in the manga and in the anime that I didn't realize, but is emphasized here, is that he gestures a lot with his pinky, and I think the reason why that is because the gesture makes a 9 with his hand. I didn't know he did that in the manga, but he does. So you learn something new every day. Even after making nearly 2,000 videos on this series, you learn something new every day. So we continue with the relationship building between Smoker and Tashigi. I think Tashigi's cute. I think she's played very well. Great job with Tashigi. But yeah, that's basically all that happens with the plot. The plot inside the whale is trying to make it open its mouth and traversing the treacherous terrain within the whale because its stomach acid is highly acidic. So that's all very new. We do have a fight between Mr. Nine and Sanji, which is funny. But the interesting thing moving forward is that when we finally get the flashback of the Rumbar pirates, we do actually get to see Brook. I loved how Brook is portrayed. This warmed my heart. I like this a lot. I like it a lot. We also see the Yorkie, of course, but Brook took the cake for me. And how Laboon is depicted is actually pretty good. They do skip on some animals, which we'll get to eventually in the season, but a lot of the important ones are done very well. So you gotta take your sour with your sweet. It's pretty good. No complaints there. I just like how Brook was portrayed. I really do. I think that was magnificent. His outfit is baller, by the way. I really do enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. It's funny because when they said the actor was casted to play him, I thought in my mind it was going to be a voiceover. I knew he appeared during the Twin Capes. I knew that because some people are still confused about Brook not being there in the narrative. No, he's there. He's actually there. That's the point. Like when you go back into Thriller Bark and you get the whole flashback, he's there with Yorkie. Like out of the Roombar Pirates, he's the second most important person because he's the only other person other than Yorkie who has a bounty. So like, yeah, but I didn't think he'd be in full costume. I don't know why. I didn't think that. I just didn't. So I'm happy that he is here. Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday, of course, are captured, but I do low-key like this weird breakdown you get between Garp and Smoker because you don't really get to see them interact that much in the manga. It's mostly just Smoker and Kuzan. So I like that. I like that a lot. I do. I'm not sure why I like it, but I like it because he builds up the same kind of rapport with Kuzan, and Kuzan has built that rapport up with Garp. So it's very familiar is what I'll say. I do enjoy it, but after all that is said and done, things basically end up in the same way that they do in the manga. However, I will say I do appreciate that they do use this time to explain the log poses after they're free from the whale. That's good. Now, how the crew escapes from the whale is different from the manga. So, because in the manga, he literally fights Laboon. He shoves the whole mast of the Mary into Laboon's blowhole. That's not done here. He does punch him in the eye a little bit, so that's good because he does do that in the manga. But he frees his friends by singing Bean Sake to the whale. That brings up memories of Brook, and that is what allows Laboon to just open his mouth and calm down. So that's kind of neat. I like that. That's cool. That's cool. We get a good log pose explanation, and that's basically it from the takeaway. I do like that Luffy still paints his Jolly Roger on Laboon's face. That's good. You needed that. That was very important. But otherwise, yeah, a little weird that it doesn't take place within the whale, but it takes place within the whale. That's what I'm saying. It's like weird caveat. Like it's technically correct, but it's incorrect at the same time. I can't be too upset about it, but for what we got, it was good. And that's all I have to say about it. Costuming, as always, is top notch. Miss Wednesday looks great. Mr. Nine looks great. Here, it seems like Mr. Nine has tattoos of nines on his face instead of those just being marked. So that's a little weird because, of course, in the manga and anime, once time has passed, we see that those were just marks because when he's a father in the post-time skip, he doesn't have those marks anymore. So yeah, Miss Wednesday's outfit is a bit akin to what it is in the anime. She doesn't have the circle pattern on her bust and stomach. That's a little different, but again, not game breaking. So yeah, overall enjoyable. Nothing too big to complain about here. So with that being said, if you like what you see, please give this video a like. And if you want to see more content from me, hit the subscribe button followed by that bell so you never miss a video. On top of that, I would appreciate it if you hit the hype button. So with that being said, give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede Rex.